On the banks of the Severn River, in the shadows of the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, time marches to a structured, disciplined beat. And for one boy growing up there in the 1960s, life revolved around football. His father was an assistant coach. His hero, a Heisman Trophy-winning quarterback. It was the perfect foundation for a career in coaching. And now, some 40 years later, with his own brigade following his marching orders, Bill Belichick is master and commander of football's reigning dynasty. But to this day, the lessons from Annapolis and the lessons of the sea still run deep.
Is there any time you've ever shown a film to a team to motivate them? Or?
Oh yeah, sure, all the time. Yeah, well, we've seen Shackleton's Antarctic Adventure.
I'm not an Arctic historian, but he failed, didn't he? I mean, he went to go up to the South Pole,
yeah,
and he never got there. So why would you show a film about a failed expedition?
Well, the story was that the ship got locked in the ice. The ice crushed the ship. Here's however many guys it was, 40 guys out there in the middle of Antarctica for a year and a half, and eventually getting to safety. I don't know however many thousand miles it was away. And they went through a lot, but they hung together. They collectively functioned as a team. They certainly were able to execute well under pressure, stick together, and ultimately the entire group made it back to safety.
The name of Shackleton's ship was endurance, a trait Belichick has exhibited in the NFL for over 30 seasons. As an assistant, his most famous stop was with the New York Giants.
Whatever you need to run to get there, because they ain't going to beat us running the ball. Okay.
Where he made a name for himself by devising the defensive game plan for 2 Super Bowl champions. But like any successful assistant, he longed to captain his own ship. So in 1991, he accepted a head coaching position with the Cleveland Browns.
Bill was 38. I think 39 years old when he took over the Browns, and he had a core foundation and discipline and structure that I believed in, especially defensively and special teams wise, and the way he led the team.
As the youngest head coach in the league, Belichick had the wind knocked from his sails.
He was new to offense back then, and in the long run, I think we both agreed. But in the short run, in the heat of being in the battle out there on Sunday afternoon, we just disagreed as to how the best way was to do that.
In 1993, Belichick's decision to cut hometown hero Bernie Kosar turned Browns fans against him. In 5 years, Belichick recorded only 1 winning season. And when the franchise pulled out of Cleveland in 1996, his head coaching career appeared to go with it.
It seemed like his players didn't like him. It seemed like he had failed as far as working with management in Cleveland. At the end of his Cleveland tenure, you weren't certain that he would ever get another shot to be a head coach.
For 4 years, Belichick stayed relatively out of sight, returning to the sidelines as an assistant, searching the horizon for a second chance. When the opportunity arrived with the 2000 New England Patriots, no one challenged his football knowledge, but many questioned his people skills.
Once upon a time, I think he looked at dealing with people almost as a necessary evil. For him, it was just going to be, let me out-scheme these people, let me outthink them, let me choose better personnel-wise.
Deep down inside, is he really that miserable? Is he really that hard to get to know? No, there's a myth to that. There is definitely a little bit of a mystique about Bill Belichick, which he likes. I mean, I think he likes the fact that people aren't so sure about him.
People who know him think he's hilarious. He hides it damn well. Because to me, he's like spackle on white bread, you know? He's just like so dry, and you just want to get a jug of water afterwards.
The last thing Bill Belichick wants in the world is fame. Bill Belichick chooses to be Joe Schmo to the public.
But in private, more and more people were getting to know the other Bill Belichick.
I was in Indianapolis at the scouting camp, and he was one of 3 people to deliver a eulogy for the late Joel Bucksbaum, the great talent evaluator. And Bill Belichick got up there, and for 15 minutes was personable. He was humorous. He was funny. He was human. so often we look at him and we say, is this guy human? And I think that the side that was evident that day in Indianapolis is the side that is evident around his team on an almost regular basis.
There he is, the star of the show.
On his second voyage as head coach, he was determined to run a tighter ship.
Is there anything that you ever brought into the locker room as an artifact that you wanted the players to look at and draw some sort of inspiration from?
Oh, sure. We had an anchor in the locker room.
What was that for?
Through the entire course of the year, I think we were approximately 700 pounds overweight. And the anchor symbolized, trying to play with an anchor tied around you. We weren't in the type of condition. We were constantly, overweight on the weigh-ins, and that was one of the messages for the 2001 season was, let's drop the anchor.
In 2001, cutting weight was easy, but cutting a star player was just as difficult as it was in Cleveland. After Tom Brady led the Patriots to their first Super Bowl victory, quarterback Drew Bledsoe was traded to Buffalo.
I know when you make those decisions, not everybody will agree with them, and not everybody supports them, but you hope that the majority does, because that's the majority of their interest is the team. But anytime you make a decision, it's going to maybe be good for somebody and not be good for somebody else. But in the long run, it's good for the team, and that's why you make it.
This time, fans backed Belichick. But even he has reservations when letting go a fan favorite.
What was the toughest decision that you had to make last year?
Releasing Lawyer Malloy.
Releasing Malloy in the very beginning?
Mm-hmm. I'd say it's probably the toughest decision I've made as a head coach.
What made that so difficult?
What Lawyer meant to the team. Lawyer was a captain. He had played on a Super Bowl team 2 years before. Unfortunately, we reached a point where we just had to agree to go different ways. I think the hardest part of the job comes at the beginning of the year when you have to release players that have been with you for a period of time.
Do you do that yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The only ones I never feel bad about are the ones that just they don't really deserve it. They haven't worked hard. They haven't really, given their best. They've had an opportunity. They didn't do much with it. It's easy to cut those guys. The hard ones are the guys that have done everything you've asked them to do. Lift weights, work out in the off season, play hurt, be there in every situation, and they've done that, and you still have to tell them that it's, we're not going to be able to keep you.
Those who are kept know exactly what is demanded of them. Belichick and Vice President of Player Personnel, Scott Pioli, have redefined what it means to be a Patriot.
On Bill Belichick's team, you wear a Patriot uniform. You have a number, and that number is your identity. It's not the name on the back of the jersey. It's the number. It sounds cold, and it sounds a little heartless at times, but the truth is you're a piece. You're a part of a machine.
He seems to have just found his niche on how to mold a team, what kind of player he wants, how to get them to take on roles they normally wouldn't want to deal with, and he gets them to buy into all for one, one for all.
That's all us together. That's all us together.
That philosophy is why, in Super Bowl 36, the Patriots became the first Super Bowl team in history to be introduced as a team. It's why linebacker Mike Vrabel, a defensive cast-off from Pittsburgh, found himself scoring a touchdown in Super Bowl 38. And it's why Bill Belichick has become a magnet for free agents like Rodney Harrison.
When I sat down with him, I knew I wanted to come here. He looked at me and said, I know you can play. I know you were hurt. So we want you to be part of this team. And for him to believe in me, for him to bring me in, it meant a lot to me.
We got you.
Thank you for believing in me.
Oh, you bet.
Nobody else did.
You know it. We got one more now.
Yes, sir.
Lombardi said football coaching is criticizing. You have to know how to criticize each player. Every player can be criticized differently. Some can be criticized in front of the group, others privately.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. I don't know how you can improve unless you can accept constructive criticism. I don't know how you can get any better. So that's what a football team has to do. It has to accept constructive criticism, recognize what it didn't do well or where its weaknesses are, and then improve on them to get. Fellas, you got to look. Just relax. But you got to concentrate on what the hell you're doing. All right?
I did an interview with John McKay 6 months before he died, and I asked him about any regrets that he had as a coach. And he said, yeah, he said, there is one. He said that I had a reputation of being sarcastic and tough with my players, but he said, I do have a regret. I'd like to get all the players that ever played for me, I'd like to get them in one room and just look them in the eye and tell them how much they meant to me. Does that relate to you at all? Can you relate to that?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And also to be able to say, you know, when I criticized you, when I got on you, when I rode you, it was to make you a better player, to make the team better. It wasn't personal.
For Bill Belichick's Patriots, football is a simple sport. But for his opponents, the game can be incredibly confusing.
The reason that Peyton Manning has such a difficult time playing a Bill Belichick coach team, what he's going to see on Sunday, and it rarely is.
He's a mad scientist when it comes to breaking down teams.
The thing we're really looking for is penetration.
So go ahead and hit it between.
Yeah, go ahead and hit it in there.
Blasted to the ground by Willie McGinnis.
And that's the ability to put pressure on. These are the things that Coach Bill Belichick can really put into a game plan.
He makes it simple for us. He gives us like 2 or 3 things that we must do to win.
Slants and in cuts. That's the game.
Back to throw. Fires over the middle, intercepted.
We concentrate on those 2 or 3 things and we do them right. 9 times out of 10, we'll win the game.
Each week, I understand there's certain points that you stress to the team.
Right.
Is there one, Bill, that is always there, one point that you always, no matter who you're playing, it's one of your 10 points?
Well, I think being able to execute and play smart situational football is always in there. All I want to do is create different situations, keep them alert, keep them thinking, because there are always going to be things that come up in the game that are one-time things. Well, I'm just telling you, be ready for anything now. Be alert, concentrate on what we're doing, and be ready for the situations, okay? And I don't want to hear about what any of the situations are. You just play them. Put it on the 4, first and goal. All right, we'll call it a touchdown. Put it on to 2, 2-point play.
Most coaches teach by giving their players answers.
Prepared. I don't know if he's thought it out or planned it, but he's prepared. Every situation that I've ever experienced.
Right? Ball's on a 1-yard line, half the distance to the goal, they get penalized 2 inches. So why not try to draw you guys offside, right? That's the cheapest 5 yards they can get. That's the situation. They're backed up. You got to be ready for a hard cadence that gets them off the goal line. All right? If they miss it, what do they got to lose? Nothing. 2 inches. They're on a 1-yard line anyway. Okay? Situations. Situations. A 2-minute situation, a punt return, an end of the game type of situation. Backed up on your, it's unusual and it'll be an important play. You just don't know what it's going to be, but you've gone over it, you have a plan for it, and you know how you're going to deal with it. So it's important that you be able to execute in those situations, and you certainly need to be able to execute at the end of the game.
That was never more evident than in Denver in 2003. Trailing by 1 late in the 4th quarter, New England appeared set to punt.
High snap hits the goalpost, so they give them a safety.
The intentional safety yielded 2 points, but gained valuable field position, which led to a game-winning touchdown.
Fires to the left. Caught! David Givens! Touchdown!
You made the plays you had to make to win the game. That was some real good situational football there at the end. Real good situational football.
The thing that has helped us win a lot of games has been the players' ability to execute and perform under pressure in critical situations.
4th and goal at the Patriot 1. 15 seconds to go. The handoff to Edgerrin. He is stopped! Willie McGinnis made the stop at the 1-yard line! Would you believe it?
Tell you what, these guys really played good last year. Man, every time they had to make a play, they made it. We've been in a lot of close games. We've been in a lot of overtime games.
Troy Brown, he's got it! He's got it to the 15, to the 10, to the 5! Touchdown! And the Patriots win in overtime!
We've been in a lot of games that have come down to a very few plays at the end of the game.
It'll be about a 41-yard field goal attempt for Adam Vinatieri.
And in those plays, it comes down to the player's ability to execute in those situations. And they've done it on a consistent basis.
Ball down, kick up, kick is on the way. Kick is good!
When you look back on last year, that 15-game winning streak going to the Super Bowl is going to go down in history as one of the greatest achievements in the history of the NFL. I mean, that's going to be, I think, comparable to Don Shula's undefeated season. What, in your mind, was the turning point of the season?
You know, I think Teddy Bruschi put it pretty well. We never thought of last season as winning 15 in a row. We thought of it as winning 1 in a row 15 times. If there was one turning point in the season, I think it was maybe before the Denver game, when we sat there and said, okay, look, we're having a pretty good season. You know, people are talking championship. Let's go back to the 2001 season. What did that 2001 Patriot team do? That team won 9 straight games after Thanksgiving.
Bill Belichick's New England Patriots are going to the Super Bowl.
Here we are. It's Thanksgiving. We haven't done anything. If you want to be a champion, you got to win from here out.
Talked about what we got to do after Thanksgiving. Okay, fellas, it's after Thanksgiving.
It was, fellas, the season starts now.
Start of a new season right here. Last year don't mean nothing.
So with Bill Belichick at the helm, the Patriots set sail on the 2004 season, trying to join the Cowboys of the 90s as the only teams to win 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. Another championship would probably mean a lot to Belichick. Another ring, however, won't.
Notice that you're not wearing a watch. You might be the only head coach that I've ever, because everything is time.
I don't wear any jewelry.
I know you don't wear the Super Bowl.
Right, I don't
ring.
wear the, I have no jewelry, so.
But a watch,
you know,
really, Bill, that's not jewelry. That's like part of doing your job.
Right. Well, you know, sometimes you're the head coach, they don't start without you, they wait till you get there. But in this business, from a business standpoint, when you walk on the football field, it doesn't make any difference what you have, what kind of car you drive, what kind of jewelry you have, or anything. The only thing you have in the National Football League really is your name